Okay, so my theory project was about conflict and power. I thought this was a really interesting topic, especially when it came to intimate and marital relationships. How do these conflicts even come about? As we read in our textbook, we saw that most of these conflicts lie deeper than what we're really arguing about. In these interpersonal relationships, one of the biggest struggles is deciding who or who doesn't have the power, and ultimately over what and why. Um, and a prime example of this would be financial responsibility, like I said, within a marital relationship or an intimate relationship. A husband and wife have gone back and forth for years about who handles the finances in the relationship. While there have been like microaggressions tossed into this argument, there have also been like really big conflicts and issues. At last, they decided to sit down and pick the situation apart to see what they've done in their actions and how it has affected their relational decisions. Power is always present. Power exists in all relationships, regardless of what type of relationship it is. The motive behind it is to have some type of influence over the other person just so they listen to you, and that's really the only reason. If you can meet someone's needs, you have power, not just over them, but over the relationship. It ranges from affection and time all the way to food and clothing. If you can provide that, you have some type of power. Both people in a relationship have power. While one may not have as much as the other, there's still power on both ends. They both have something to offer. And even in this financial struggle, there is power to be negotiated because both the man and woman bring income to the relationship and both have a direct say on how it is managed and directed because ultimately it's their money that is earned, obviously. Legitimate power. This type of power usually derives from an authoritative position like parents, teachers, and law enforcement officers. In this relationship, there's really not that type of power to be negotiated because they both have like the same role of bringing money into the relationship. Expert power, though, on the other hand, is relying on the knowledge and expertise of a person is really what this type of power is structured on. When it comes to finance in the relationship, the woman is the one that seems to have more relationship with money and finances because she's worked at a bank before. Even though he knows this, the man is still like bothered and doesn't really want to let her manage the finances. It might be because of him wanting to have that power over her and over the relationship. Um, referent power, I believe. It relies solely on letting the other influence based on attraction and liking of them. You know, people change their behaviors, their moods, their demands and desires because of it. And in this relationship, we can see that the woman does have the financial experience, but she doesn't want to have all the power over the money because it makes the man uncomfortable, and she just wants to keep playing her role to keep him satisfied. Um, it's really apparent that they're both dependent upon each other, and the fact that he needs her to play that minuscule role to keep himself satisfied, and at the same time, she feels that she needs to play that role to keep him satisfied. And studies have shown that the person who is least emotionally involved is the one that has the most power. And in this instance, it's the man because he's the one that's letting the woman be so invested that she will meet any expectation he has of her, regardless of any issue at hand, especially the financial one. Reward power and coercive power really go hand in hand. It's really reward power is based on the ability of others to satisfy your needs, such as like gifts, affection, and money. As we see here, the woman is the one that's pouring out the affection, so she can really regulate how much of this she rewards to the man. It gives her like this gauge, so if she were to decide she doesn't want to do it or something like that, she can do that. And with that, she can have this type of power of saying, hey, if you're not going to do this, I am not going to give you that affection that you so much love or like. She can decide if she wants to meet the man's financial needs with that, but that goes straight into coercive power. It's usually holding back rewards in order to prove a point or hold power. And all the while, the woman is meeting his needs. She can hold back just to gain leverage and say, you know what? If you can't meet my own needs, then we're going to need to reevaluate our financial situation just so I can have more control over it. Ultimately, I think that they need to, renegotiate and maybe persuade each other a little bit differently. I mean, as we learned in the textbook, compliance gaining is taking persuasive actions to get the others to comply. And something that the man can do is say, you know what, I'm going to be more affectionate just so that I can have the liberty of managing the finances, so she doesn't, have that power. But even in the same way, the woman could start acting as cold as him to have more power over him, thus having, the leverage or more leverage when it comes to financial talks and power struggles. I think they need to renegotiate their power. They should reorganize as a unit, let go of their egos, and use common sense in order to progress. I mean, she has financial, experience in the background. She has everything she needs to say, hey, you know what? Let me take care of it. It seems to be like an ego trip for the man, but, it would be common sense for her to have more, if not most, of the power that the financial direction needs. And I think that they really need to renegotiate it and just, use common sense and see what's going to work out best for the relationship to progress and, be financially stable.